stores still don't have an adequate supply of test kits.
What's going on, guys? Captain Dylan Hubbard here for the Real Animals radio show. We're going to get started shortly on the radio, but stay tuned, guys. Once you see the video start, again, we'll be live. So make sure, comment where you're watching from. Hopefully you enjoy the video. We are live every Saturday morning from 6 a.m. to 8 a.m., and we always stream right here to the Hubbard's Marina Real Animals and Gill's Facebook pages, plus the Real Animals YouTube as well. This morning I've got Captain Jason Prieto from Steady Action Fishing Charters. Am I pronouncing your last name right? Prieto? Yeah, that's what I thought.
There's not a wrong way. It's been mispronounced so long that we just roll with it.
You don't correct anymore.
No.
Well, very cool. We are going to be talking all about fishing this morning, talking a little bit about the weather, what's coming up, what to look for, and hopefully you're going to join the conversation. You can call us at 1-800-969-9352 to join the conversation. Until then, stay tuned, guys. We're going to be starting very shortly. Thanks for watching.
Expect to see the exit ramp from 4th Street North closed down for construction.
Show, your weekly voyage into Florida fishing. Presented by Hubbard's Marina. Hosted by Captain Mike Anderson and Captain Dylan Hubbard.
Good morning, y'all. Captain Dylan Hubbard here in the iHeartMedia empire for our news radio WFLA Bartow Ford Real Animals Fishing Show this morning on this beautiful Saturday, January 15th, and kind of the calm before the storm today, if you will, as we prepare for this wintertime weather that's on our doorstep. This morning, we've got Captain Jason Prieto from Steady Action Fishing Charters in studio with us, and we're going to be talking all about fishing, inshore, nearshore, and offshore too, and hopefully you'll join the conversation as well. You can always call us with your fishing reports, fishing questions, techniques, tips, whatever you want to do. You can give us a shout at 1-800-969-9352, and the first voice you'll hear is Captain Rob Roman on the other side of the glass, making us sound great this morning. And actually, he's the one in charge. You know, he's running the ship. That's why he's a captain. How you doing this morning, Rob?
Oh man, I feel like we haven't talked in a bajillion weeks.
I missed you.
I know.
It's good to have you back.
Me too. It's been very busy. So I'm actually very curious about how this colder weather is going to affect a lot of the fishing.
Well, you're going to find out this morning.
I hope so. It's freezing today.
It is cold.
It is cold, and it's going to get colder. It's going to get colder, definitely. We've got a big cold front inbound, and that's going to be pushing through here sometime tonight into tomorrow morning, and it's going to make it a little nautical over Sunday and Monday, especially offshore. We're seeing 8, 9, 10 foot forecasted.
I would say the Hubbard's boats aren't going to be running on Monday.
Hey, don't sleep on that. You never know, but I would say that's true. It looks like Sunday for sure we're going to be dockside. Monday as well. At the Egmont Key buoy, Sunday they're calling 9.2 foot at 7 p.m. And Monday morning still up over 8 foot. So I think you're right. Probably going to be a good preventative maintenance day Sunday and Monday as we prepare for that little weather window midweek. It looks beautiful Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday ahead of what looks to be another front coming through around Friday night into Saturday morning. So definitely this time of year becomes so important to time your trips around the weather and capitalize on these little weather windows. Today we've got a weather window until the weather picks up later tonight, and another one midweek. So we were talking before the show started a little bit about that. I mean, inshore, it's kind of the same deal, right?
Yeah, you guys offshore. We were talking before we went on air about it. It's more complicated to me, but I'm also an inshore fisherman, so I'm sure it comes to you guys. But the weather this time of year, you just have to really watch it and adjust on the fly, which as years into even inshore, offshore, you kind of just, I wake up in the morning and I just look at stuff and pull out. And if you got a stiff north wind, I fish the South Shore. I live on the Little Manatee River. We have a lot of, as long as I can get bait, I can pretty much fish. And there's a lot of great fishing minutes from my house. So that gives us a lot of leeway. Offshore, you're in no man's land. I mean, once you commit, you're dealing with the elements full bore. So it's inshore. The one thing, a lot of times, if you hear about a bad incident that happened on the water, I'll use the football players.
Yeah,
it's typically this time of year. Yeah, and it always comes from the neglect of looking at the weather. Especially running offshore. Oh, we'll be okay. You can't really go on that and. I like to use, which the apps are off, as you know, but if you use an app to look at the hourly, I think that helps you. Yeah. The one thing that with weather, when the weather's bad, the fishing's usually pretty good because you got fronts moving in and barometric pressure moving around. With that being said, you got to play it safe and err towards caution. So it's always a gamble. But offshore, you really got to be careful because you're just out there where nobody is.
I mean, what we do is on our website, hubbardsmarina.com. If you click fishing trips, there you scroll down and there's a weather links page, and it's all the links that we use to check the weather ourselves that we have there on our website for anybody to view and use themselves. Even if you're not fishing with us, it's a great way to kind of check the weather offshore. And I always like to look at a couple different sources of weather information, whether it's Windfinder, Windy, and perhaps NOAA offshore reports too, and then kind of average them. And that gives me, I think, a better feel for what the weather's going to do, because some apps, depending on what model inputs they're using, will have different forecasts. Oh, yeah. So trying to kind of average them out, and you always got to add a little bit just to make sure you're erring on the side of caution, like you said. And that gives you a good, clear view. And then couple that with the morning of your trip. I always like to look at the weather buoys. Like yesterday was a great example. Windfinder was calling 3.2 at the Egmont Key buoy. And the actual Wave Rider buoy that gives you real-time weather data was showing 5 foot. So they were forecasting 3.2 foot. It was really 5 foot yesterday morning around 8, 9 a.m. So it definitely is one of those things you got to check and keep checking. Not only the night before your trip, but the morning of your trip as well before you head out, especially if you're fishing offshore. But you hit on a good point that I kind of wanted to talk a little bit about this morning is when you're fishing inshore and weather is blowing, you have some more options, like being as though you're on the little Manatee River. I assume you probably do some trips in the river or at the mouth of the river this time of year with the weather blowing around. You can always find that wind-protected shoreline. You want to talk a little bit about that and how you approach it?
Yeah, that particular area is very interesting. Coast Guard standards, if you get past the mouth of literally the mouth of the river, they say it's non-navigable.
Mm-hmm.
It's navigable. You just got to know where you're going.
Yeah.
All the cuts are natural, made by current. There's no dredge. Well, I take that back. The Ruskin Inlet's dredged, but
yeah,
a lot. It's really it's a nursery for fish. I fished my 4-hour trip in the morning. We caught 30 fish. I didn't leave the river.
Nice.
So the biggest thing this time of year that I tell people, you don't really look at the weather, you look at your water temperature.
Mm-hmm.
If you got 70 degrees water temperature, the river doesn't really seem to be great because the fish are pushing out on the flats. You get in the low 60s, the fish are moving to where the water temperature is consistent. So I look at water temperature more than the outside temperature. Past front.
What's your source for water temperature? Just getting out in the boat and experience day to day.
My bottom machine.
Yeah.
I'm doing this going on 18 years. People call me months in advance and try to pick the best tides and this. I really don't like that because I roll by the seat of my pants on my charters. I wake up in the morning.
Spoken like a professional.
I kick my GPS on. I look at the wind. I look at the water temp, and I look at the tides, and I go, oh, we're going to go this way. We're going to go that way. I don't know. I operate better just looking at the current conditions.
But sitting at your dock, kicking your GPS on, how do you know what the water temperature is in the area that you're going to target that day?
You can see there's a huge difference, 5-6 degrees from like yesterday morning, for example. We had a cold. It was actually colder than I thought. My daughter had volleyball practice and it was sand practice, and we were outside. And I was in shorts and t-shirt. I left my house. I was freezing. I thought, man, this cold front's colder than I thought. I really didn't look at the weather too much. So Friday morning when we got out, it was cold. Had to get bait. We got bait, and when you go to the flats, you'll see a big difference. For me, rule of thumb on the flats, if that water is if it's low 60s, fish don't want to eat good. And then the sun is your friend. Overcast days I don't like this time of year. But I know that when I pop in the river, it's going to be 4 or 5 degrees warmer. And that temperature is going to sustain because it's darker bottom, muddy bottom. It's got a lot of seawalls. I just know that the water sustains in there. I actually learned that going to the Snook Symposium years ago on why fish move in the rivers, particularly snook. So it's just, and the fish react different. We fished on the flats in the afternoon once the tide flooded in, and we caught snook, but they wouldn't pop chum. And it was just different. I knew the fish were there, so we just sat there with baits on the bottom. And we caught them, but they wasn't active. Going the river, they were blowing up on stuff, just a lot more active fish.
So the river sustains a better better water temperature, and that warmer water temperature, just a few degrees difference, gets them excited. Whereas on the flats, where water temps are cooler, they're more lethargic. They're not popping chum. It's more of a dead bait soaked on the bottom type deal is what you're saying.
Yeah, and temperatures spike up and down on the flats. It's shallow, so sun heats it up, and you also have a cold front comes through, it'll drop fast where it sustains. It's an even keel. It's a safer bet, especially for snook. Everybody knows this. Well, most people know that snook, they get below a certain temperature, they can't survive. So they have to have that warm water refuge, whether it's a hot water runoff, whether it's canals, seawalls, river systems. That's why they're so important to what we have here. So it's a great. The Alafai River, Palm River, all these rivers, they have a lot of fish in them this time of year.
So water temperatures cooler behind a front. You can look for those snook at those residential canals where that dark bay mud is, those sun-baked seawalls that are radiating heat, local hot water runoffs like power plants, spring-fed little spring systems and creeks, and then the rivers. Basically, it would be your target when that water temperature is cool. What's the threshold, would you say?
For me, the number that I've always went by is about 58 degrees to where, you get a cold front and it's just really cold. Even in the river, the fish they'll drop off in the middle of the canals. And typically when it's that cold, you got a stiff north wind, so your tides are crazy low, and you just got to slow your approach. They're not going to be active. You'll catch them. You just have to, just like us. We wake up in the morning, it's cold. We're kind of
not moving around
yeah,
fast.
we're not real excited about life. So I always take the same approach with that. So if you use that approach, and if there's fish and you know there are fish there, just slow things down. Maybe put a little split shot with your greenback or your shrimp on the bottom. Shrimp is a good option too. I'm not a big shrimp fisherman, but they do work, and it's a slower, easier bait for them to eat.
Nice. Makes it a little easier for them to target when that water's cooler. So we're going to be talking more on the other side about redfish tips as well, and picking Jason's brain this morning. Captain Jason Prieto from Steady Action Fishing Charters is our guest this morning on the Real Animals Radio Show. And you can join the conversation too. You got some questions, inshore, nearshore, offshore. You want to talk fishing, give your report, give us a call, 1-800-969-9352. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Emmitt Smith, Pro Football Hall of Famer and 3-time.
So yeah, snook, I feel, I'll save it for the radio, but I definitely want to pick your brain about redfish, because I know that snook are pretty common knowledge. They're subtropical fish or whatever they call them, and under a certain temperature they can't survive, so they automatically go to the rivers. But what the hell do the redfish do on these temperatures? But don't answer yet.
Yeah.
That's what my question is like, snook are so easy to kind of follow the trends, and everybody knows the trends, whereas redfish seem to be a little bit more of a secret.
Yeah, they're different. They're definitely different this time of year. I see a lot of them. They get to be tough to catch, but
Yeah. They get shallower.
they do. They'll
Yeah.
sun.
Yeah. Sun themselves like a big gator.
And trout are the same way. Like, they can survive, but they're still not happy. Like,
Yeah.
they're just trying to warm up.
Yeah.
Or snook, literally, they're just like, I can't do it. What always interests me is tarpon. Like, tarpon's there year round, but
Yeah.
they're super tropical fish. Like, if you look at the temps on fish, they're
Yeah.
80s and up.
Mm-hmm.
But they stay in here year round, and I've never understood. I'm like, and they go in the hot water runoff. There'll be a ton of them there.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's
The hot water runoff, you said?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. They go way up there where you can't get.
Behind the buoys.
Yes, it's like they know. But
They knows where those buoys end.
that'll be interesting because they're converting that power plant to gas.
To a gas power plant?
Yeah, I think it's gas, but so they're not going to be using, I don't think, all that stuff to cool. So it's going to throw a different. If I understand it, I know they're converting because it got bought by a Canadian company.
Yeah.
I know they're going. I want to say gas, something different than coal.
Huh. So that'll change it.
Yeah, so if they don't have the hot water, that's going to change the manatees, fish. I mean, they're all kind of, engraved in their brain.
That'll be weird.
Looks like that front's coming through earlier. That'll be better for the Bucks game.
Sunday at 5 a.m.
They're predicting it like right at time for the Bucks to come up. That's going to suck. That's going to be early.
When do the Bucks play? 1 p.m. I work every Sunday, so I never get to watch the games.
Yeah, I'll probably be at volleyball right in the middle of the day, so I'll record it.
Yeah. So you always watch it recorded?
Most if I got
Yeah.
work or whatever. I mean, I work a lot on Sundays too, but I used to record and put it on DVR or whatever. It's actually, you don't realize how fast the game is if you don't watch commercials.
Yeah, that's true. It gets a lot faster when
Yeah.
you don't have all those commercial breaks. And timeouts and halftime. They drag them suckers out.
Oh yeah, you got to pay for it.
Yeah. It's crazy. Let's see what questions we have on Facebook. Congrats, Zach, on starting a pressure washing business. That's fun. Good luck with it, man. Consistency is king, let me tell you. Being consistent with good customer service.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a secret how to be successful in business. It's just
Especially
difficult.
these days, you offer good customer service, you'll be good.
Yeah. Good customer service. You can have a mediocre product with good customer service and good consistency.
I think society's accepted bad customer service.
Yeah. Unfortunately.
Yes.
Your captains, Mike Anderson and Dylan Hubbard.
We're back. Captain Dylan Hubbard here at the News Radio WFLA Real Animals radio show. Unfortunately, no Captain Mike this morning. Sorry, guys, you're stuck with me. But we've got our friend Captain Jason Prieto from Steady Action Fishing Charters in studio this morning with us, talking fishing. And we got a couple callers on the line that we are going to get to here real quick. First one up is Captain Mike from Big Pine Key. What's going on, Mike? How are you this morning?
Hey, guys. How y'all doing this morning?
Doing well, brother. Just another day in paradise. How about you?
Yeah. It's warmer down here than it is up there, that's for sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it is down there in beautiful Keys, and I'm sure the wahoo fishing is heating up with this cooler weather, huh?
Yeah, we're fighting the same thing with the weather. It's, taking charters offshore. You got to know your clients pretty well, and they got to be honest with you because you don't want a boat full of seasick people. That's the last thing you want out on the water.
Yeah.
But, the wahoo fishing's still pretty good. They're eating anything and everything we're putting over the side. It seems like, it's gotten to a pitch frenzy. Gets expensive on lures real fast if you don't tie them right with the right kind of wire and everything. So we've gone to the trolling them right on the straight cable now, and it doesn't make a matter when they're biting like this.
I was about to say that must be a really good bite, being able to troll cable and still get them chewing. That's awesome.
And the cable too. The cable has a secondary purpose. It cuts through any grass and weed lines that you want to troll underneath. It cuts through it like a knife through butter. You don't end up having to clear lines as much.
Nice tips. What's your favorite color right now? What's the hot color for those wahoo?
It still remains anything purple, black, and white combo colors. Anything of those combo colors seems to be the trick. And we're trolling. We've actually slowed it down a little. We were going as fast as 11.5 knots, but we've actually slowed down and been getting them at 9 knots now.
Slowed it down to 9 knots. That's impressive.
Trying to save a little gas with 3 engines back there.
There you go. The Nomad DTX is still the plug of choice.
Yeah. When you're doing plugs, for me, the Nomad DTX, any of those, the big Rapalas, the big mirror lures, anything like that, lip plugs, or even the non-lips, the high-speed trollers. And I got into also bottom fishing. I know you're getting into that slow pitch jig thing. We started using some of those new Nomad. They make vibes.
Yeah.
That's what they call them. And I'm teaching people to toss them away from the boat, and they sink like a rock. Huh. And you actually work them just like a slow pitch jig. And
interesting
flutters and everything. And we've been catching grouper and big mutton snapper on them.
Huh. So you're using them like a vertical jig?
Just like a vertical jig. They sink like a rock.
Okay.
And you throw them about 50, 60 feet away from the boat, and you let them sink, and it stings up underneath the boat, and you just start jigging them.
Interesting.
And they work just as good as any slow pitch jig.
All right, cool. We'll have to check that out. That's the Nomad Vibes. It's a new lure Nomad just released. I've been interested to check it out myself, so cool info to hear that they're already working for someone. If I was heading to the Keys and trying to get a charter with you, how'd I get a hold of you? How do we look you up?
Sure, it's 813-434-8086, CaptainMichael47gmail.com, or simply call 1-866-GAMEFISH, and Mike Anderson will shoot you my way. And last tip before you guys come to the Keys, do not come to the Keys with empty spools of line and think you're going to get your line done cheap. Down here, it's 25 to 40 cents a yard right now.
That's crazy.
If you had a lining machine, you could be rich right now down in the Keys.
New business.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it, buddy. You have a good day.
Thanks a lot. Have a great day, guys. Bye-bye.
See you, buddy. Always a pleasure to hear from our friend down in the Keys. That's Captain Mike. And we are going to have Nick on the other side from Valrico. Either he's with Friends with Pelicans or he's talking about them. I think this is Nick Nieves, who works with the Sunshine Skyway Fishing Club, talking probably about the recent vote going on at the Manatee County Commission, but we'll find out more on the other side here, guys. And we are going to be talking and finishing our conversation with Captain Jason Prieto here about what the redfish do when it gets cold. We talked a little bit about what the snook do. We're going to pick his brain on redfish, sheep's head, and more on the rest of our show. We got plenty of time here this morning on the Saturday morning Real Animals radio show on News Radio WFLA. You can join the conversation. Give us a shout, 1-800-969-9352. We'll be right back. It's always funny. It's like sometimes you have a bunch of callers and you can't get anything talked about, and then sometimes you'll have no callers. Like last week, we had no callers, so we talked a lot. And so this week, I had a bunch of topics and wanted to talk about specific issues, and of course, we start getting a bunch of callers. But
yeah, I
it's a
remember
good
when
thing.
we did radio, it was like, we did the call-in thing. It was, one day you'd have a bunch of calls, and you didn't have anything, and
then the
one
next
day you're
day,
tired, you didn't prepare, you didn't have any calls.
It's always how it works out.
Yeah, the callers usually, for us, would dictate what we talked about.
It's always good, too. I like having callers because it keeps you on your toes.
Yeah, I saw he had put something on that name rang a bell. Are they complaining about pelicans?
So we'll talk about it with him, but basically the Manatee County Commission had a recent vote on the Skyway Fishing Pier. The Friends with Pelicans group did basically another proposal, and they went to FWC and tried to get something done about the Skyway and the hooked birds, and they were originally bringing it because of that scalped pelicans. FWC investigated, found no wrongdoing, so now the group is kind of working with Manatee County Commission, and they had a few main issues, like they want to try to ban sabiki rigs and treble hooks on the pier, and they want to limit the number of rods, etc. So the Manatee County Commission reviewed the proposal and the request, and are basically, it sound like they're considering it. And one of the commissioners basically requested that if you are a fisherman, to contact him, and he wants to hear from fishermen in the area and what they think on the proposal, basically. So Nick is trying to get that word out more, I think. If this is Nick that I'm thinking it is. If it's not, it might be someone who works with Friends with Pelicans, who knows.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the pelicans, the dolphins, they're in our area. Yesterday, they follow.
Yeah.
They literally follow the boats.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, the pelicans.
The
yeah.
dolphins too.
It's hard to shake them.
It is
Offshore dolphins do the same thing. Dolphins are becoming a big issue.
Yeah,
Dolphins, sharks, and Goliaths. Goliaths won't follow you, obviously, but when they're in an area, they just eat everything.
Yeah.
But dolphins will follow you.
We snap, obviously, in the bay, and the summer we'll snapper fish a lot. I've had them follow me from I'll run a couple miles.
Yeah.
And they're right there.
Yeah.
It's just
offshore. You do the brush off. If there's another boat around, you just pick up and start running and get close to them, and then cut.
Oh, really?
If that boat's fishing, those dolphins will stay with them.
We had one yesterday. I released the snook, and I didn't see the dolphin. Got 'em.
Offshore in the northern Gulf, the dolphins are becoming really bad out of like Panama City, Destin, Orange Beach, and that's what they do up there.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, you see a boat running at you, it's not to steal your spot, it's because he's bringing you the dolphins.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know they were bad offshore. I don't do a lot of offshore. I don't do
Yeah.
any offshore guiding. We go out there once or twice a year and do some hog fishing. That's about it.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not so bad near shore. It's when you get into deep water and you run across them, especially up to our north.
Yeah.
Seems to be worse in the northern Gulf.
I wonder why.
NOAA claims in the presentation that I read is there was a bunch of boats feeding dolphins out of like Panama City Beach area, and it taught like a generation of dolphins to be dependent on fishermen.
Yeah.
That's what they claim, but I don't know how a couple boats in Panama City affect the entire population of dolphins in the Gulf.
I just think they're just, as they have baby dolphins, if they see the mom dolphins doing it, they're gonna.
And that's what they're saying is they learn over time, and
they're
they've learned that fishing boats are an easy target.
I mean, look at the Potter's Pier.
Yeah.
They crash nets all day long.
Yep.
And I've never had one do it inside the bay.
Pier dolphins.
I've had to do it the Skyway, and then I don't go to Potter's Pier for bait anymore. Place is just a train wreck. But when I used to fish St. Pete more, obviously it's an easy bait spot. But
Potter's Pier is the Bay Pier of Fort DeSoto, right?
yeah, no, there's Bay Pier. Potter's is around the corner on the
Gulf
outside.
Pier.
Or Gulf Rack, we call it Potter's.
Yeah.
I hate that pier. That thing's
I'm not hip on Tampa Bay geography as well, so I always try to ground
got
truth.
5 different names for one spot, and you're like,
Even in John's Pass, there's like 4-5 islands, and there's probably 35 names for those
like,
5
where?
islands. Yeah.
and there's always a beer can island somewhere.
Yes. I think there's 25 beer can islands in Tampa Bay. No joke, that's for sure. They're so smart too.
Yeah, well, even the birds, like, they're complaining about the pelicans. They know what they're doing. They just don't. They're like, I'm going to take my chances on an easy meal or get hooked.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the way I feel.
We've noticed it more at the marina because growing up, when I was young, you fillet a fish, you throw the carcass in the water. That's how you did it. And there's always pelicans there eating them. But nowadays, we are so careful. Nothing goes in the water. Everything goes in a barrel. We wait till the birds are gone. We get rid of them. And nothing goes to the birds as much as we can avoid it. And you've gotten rid of the adult birds. Yeah. No adult males, females come to the dock. But you get a bunch of those little brown-head juvenile dolphins or pelicans, and they're just so aggressive. Yeah. They'll get right up on the dock, and they'll try to bite the hands of us, the guys filleting fish. It's crazy.
Yeah, they get to where they don't care.
Yeah.
Dylan Hubbard.
We're back talking fishing this morning. Real Animals radio show here on News Radio WFLA. We've got Nick from Valrico talking about the Friends with Pelicans. Either he works with or he's talking about. Is this Nick Nieves? How are you, buddy?
Good morning to Captain Dylan. Good morning, Captain Prieto. How you guys doing this morning?
That was the Spanish version.
That was the Spanish version. I'm Puerto Rican, man, 100.
I'm not. I stole somebody's last name.
Well, I kind of figured that, man. More like Diego.
The video gives it away.
Yeah.
It does, man. I'm looking right at you. The reason I'm calling this morning, because, and I'm going to repeat this again, I am not part of the Friends of Pelicans. I am the administrator for the Sunshine Skyway fishing page, which deals a lot with the Sunshine Skyway, among other fishing places in the Tampa Bay area. These folks are trying to get, I guess, funding for their cause. You know, they need boats, they need buildings, and they're using fishermen, you know, as their way to get their platform heard, you know. So they want to stop us using sabikis. They want to stop us from using a certain amount of rods, what kind of line, where we can and can't fish. And I'm here to tell you that this was brought up before the Commissioner of Manatee County, and we have Commissioner James Satcher. I'll repeat his name again. James Satcher wants to hear from the fishermen in the area because this thing, when it was brought up, was on one side. There was nobody representing the local fishermen or the guys that fish on the Skyway and all the piers, and because the Skyway's not the only pier in this area. So
yep.
He definitely wants to hear what's going on. He wants to hear from the fishermen. He kind of gave us this is kind of disrespectful that we only got one side of people. Where'd all the fishermen at? So we need all the fishermen to stand up and fight for your rights.
And especially when
you're told what you can and can't use to fish.
Yeah, and especially when a county commissioner asks for fisherman feedback, it becomes even more important to kind of say your voice because as you and I discussed on the phone this week, the Manatee County Commission got presented with a proposal from the group Friends with Pelicans, and basically they're proposing more restrictions on the Sunshine Skyway fishing pier, specifically of removing treble hooks, removing sabiki rigs, lowering the number of rods per person. Currently 3 rods are allowed per person. They want to lower that number so that way the goal is preventing entanglement with pelicans when you're out there fishing, which, I mean, is a good goal. But, I mean, in my experience, it's very difficult to prevent pelican entanglement completely.
They're just super aggressive.
Extremely aggressive, especially this time of year.
Well, not only pelicans, you got Goliath groupers, you got dolphins that attack us. We're being attacked 3 ways now. So,
yeah.
Who wins? Where do we meet in the middle and say, okay, so this is what we're going to do?
That's true.
Maybe this is just me talking. Maybe instead of trying to take stuff away from people, how about educate people on the situation to better educate them how to fix the situation versus just saying you can't do something.
And that's something they're working on. The Friends with Pelican group is working with FWC. There's a Hooked Pelican working group that the FWC has formed, and not only Friends with Pelicans, but the Suncoast Seabird Sanctuary, Birds and Helping Hands. There's a bunch of different groups and fishermen too. The guys from Salt Strong got involved in it, and trying to do my best. Nick was involved in it from Sunshine Skyway Fishing Club. So there are things out there that are in the works to try to better educate people, and we recently did some videos on it with I forget which group it was, but it's challenging because even if you're educated, I think it comes down to knowing when you hook a bird, you cannot let that bird fly away, and you can't just cut the line. You got to reel in the bird just like a fish and de-hook it. You got to get that hook out of there, and if you can't, you reel in the bird and cut the hook with a pair of bolt cutters or whatever, and try to get it out like that. And you can't be scared of the bird. If you're willing to reel in a big kingfish, big mouthful of teeth, and unhook it, you should be able to reel in a pelican and unhook that too.
Yeah, the education part of it I think would help. Maybe have, I don't know what they could do on the pier. Maybe have signs. Or, I haven't been to the fishing pier.
We actually have PVC pipes that are posted about every 30, 40 feet. So anytime somebody gets a line and then, gets like a bird nest or something, they cut the line, they have that PVC that they can actually put the line in. Yeah. I also advise all our guys on when they fish a pier, police your, it's like police your brass, police all your trash, and so anything doesn't go in the water. So I posted some of that yesterday, and every so often I do it. I'll take pictures of the actual PVC and say, do you guys know what this is for on the pier? And of course you get a bunch of crazy answers, but then you get people say, yeah, it's for the whole fishing line and stuff. So education, what you said, Jason, is absolutely what they needed. It's not preventing fishermen from fishing with as many rods. Which first of all, I don't fish with 3 rods. I'm crazy with just one, let alone 3. Yeah. But
no, I'm right there with you, and I think that what you're saying and what you're conveying is important. If you want to get involved, you want to give some feedback. What was the councilman's name that was asking again?
It was Commissioner James Satcher, and I do have it on our page, Dylan.
Okay.
And I'll be more than happy to get it and put it up in the air for everybody to see.
Yeah.
Put it on the page.
Yeah, add it to the comments on our Facebook live streams on the Real Animals Facebook page and the Hubbard's Marina Facebook page.
As soon as I get off with you guys, I'll go ahead and get that information, and then I'll post it here so everybody can. He is on. If you pull up the county commissioners for for Manatee County. He comes up, along with all the chair and all the rest of the commissioners on there.
Yeah.
It's James Thatcher.
And all their emails are public if you just Google it.
Fishermen.
Yeah. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate the call this morning, Nick. Thank you so much for bringing this up.
Yeah,
no problem. Thank you. And Captain Jason, thank you for all your tips, man.
Yeah, no problem, man.
I suck at catching redfish.
Yeah, sometimes I do too.
Thank you, Nick.
Have a good day, gentlemen.
See you, buddy.
It's good to hear that. Obviously, he's just doing this because he likes to fish, and the busy world we live in, that is very tough for people. And as sad as it is, we deal with a lot of issues that on the inshore side, offshore side, fishing pier side, whether it's, and it usually has some kind of interaction with animals and us fishing. Yeah. And the first thing everybody seems to want to do is
shut it down.
Shut it down. Why don't we find a fix instead of shutting it down? Because
shutting it down is the easy thing to do. A solution's harder to accomplish and work towards.
Well, the sad thing is fishing is like an escape from life for a lot of people. For us, we do it for work, but it's escape from everyday hustle and dealing with the politics. Unfortunately, this is the thing that we've got to stand up for ourselves. And as long as I've been guiding, the issue has always been the recreational guy. Mm-hmm. They want to do something, but there's the organizations. It's tough to, how do I do this? It's just me.
Yeah.
But it just takes some effort getting involved in some type of organization to do so.
And working with organizations. That's the biggest thing that I see, and most frustrating thing that I see is like you've got groups out there that are doing great things like the Florida Guides Association, Coastal Conservation Association. There's a billion different recreational groups and advocacy groups, Captains for Clean Water, and it's like if you talk to 10 people, they'll give you 10 different reasons why I'm never going to join this organization. Insert name here, it doesn't matter. And it's so frustrating. It's like, you might not agree with one thing this organization did, or you might not agree with a handful of things that organization did, but they also do a lot of good work. Like CCA is an easy example. You talk to 10 people, 8 of them will tell you why they'll never be a CCA member because of X, Y, Z. And it's like, well, they also plant mangrove trees and oyster bar restoration, and they just released 10,000 redfish in our ecosystem recently. It's like they do a lot of good work too. So just because you don't agree with them on a certain policy or a certain issue doesn't mean you can't support them and become a CCA member.
Maybe be a little more open-minded. That'll be our 2022
just
theme.
Because you don't agree doesn't mean you have to hate people.
Yes, exactly. That's perfect.
Yeah.
And one thing that we're having our Florida Guides Association annual meeting, and Dylan, you've come on board, and you're really lighting the fire with the Florida Guides, and it's so tough because all of us are running businesses, and we're all just donating time and trying to make the best of with our time. But the one thing that I've always noticed I never understood, and it was, to me, it was a little bit of organizations kind of holding their ground. You got CCA, I'll just use these for examples, FGA, Captains for Clean Water, there's probably some offshore.
Yeah.
And I always said, well, why don't we all just get together and make this one huge.
I couldn't agree more.
And I never got really a straight answer. I'm just thinking outside the box. And lately we've had these meetings because everything is better in numbers.
Yep.
And we have to do that. And honestly, even the Florida Guides Association, it says Guides Association, but for the most part, maybe minus you being an offshore, we abide by, we're like the gray area, commercial, recreation. We go by recreational rules.
Yep.
We're just commercially, commercial listed vessels. So I think it's, some of the stuff we have going, the FGA and these other organizations coming together, I think is going to be great.
Yeah. Doing some sort of summit, bringing us all together, getting us all on the same page. Because you can disagree on one topic, but you can agree on the next. And in unity, we all succeed.
Yeah.
Is a phrase I have stolen from a local businesswoman I love. In unity, we all succeed. That's a good one. We've got Ron from Ron's Tackle Box here. We've got just a few minutes, Ron, but we want to get our freshwater guru and freshwater report. How you doing this morning, Ron?
Doing great. Fishing's fantastic. This cooler weather really turned on the specs.
Nice.
We've been waiting for this to come, and, we need that water to get down to about 58. And then they come up to the shoreline real good, so last few days been nice and cool, and that's turned them on really well. And the bass fishing's fantastic. Just a fantastic time to come out here and wet a line.
Awesome, man.
Catch them on the piers, catch them in the boat.
What's the hot bait?
Good time of the year.
What's the hot bait right now?
Pardon?
The bait.
Minnows.
Yeah,
Minnows
yeah.
are your best.
Oh, awesome, man. So the minnow's still working well for the specs, and I assume the booyah for the bass?
Well, the booyah, I hate preaching that, but I'm telling you. There's guys fishing tournaments this morning around here. The last 4 customers came in and bought them. I mean, they were asking for them, so it's like they know it works well.
Awesome, man. Well, if you wanted to go visit Ron's Tackle Box, how do we find you? What's your phone number?
I'm at 380 South Lakeshore Way, which is 1792 in Lake Alfred. Phone number 863-956-4990.
Awesome.
Good time of the year to come out here. You'll catch a lot of fish.
And stop by Ron's Tackle Box for all your tackle and bait needs, right?
I appreciate it. I have probably everything you do need.
Awesome.
3,000 square foot of it.
Yeah, and a lot of other cool stuff, too. Thanks for calling in this morning, Ron, our freshwater guru. We'll talk to you again next weekend, buddy.
All right. Bye.
See you, man. Always a pleasure talking to Ron from Ron's Tackle Box over there in Lakeland. Definitely check him out. Got a lot of tips. Been there forever and knows his way around. Can point you to where the specks are biting, the bass are biting, and show you the lures and bait that's working. We've got John from Apollo Beach on the other side. We're going to be talking to him. And got a lot more great show lined up for you guys. And talking redfish tips eventually when we get a second. So stay tuned. And we'll be right back on the Real Animals Radio Show. Call us, join the conversation, 1-800-969-9352. We'll be back.
They were never forgiving.
Clear cut, straightforward, no.
Yeah, I saw that on that Pelican deal.
Yeah.
I read a little bit on it.
When the Pelicans were getting, they were saying they were getting scalped.
I didn't even hear about that. I just saw the guy saying the county commissioner trying to shut down. I thought they were trying to shut everything down. I'm like, well, that's not good.
Well, you saw it down in Naples. In Naples, you can't shark fish off any of the piers. You can't use treble hooks, no sabikis. You're only allowed 1 rod. You can only fish from this time to this time. It's like more and more common. You're seeing fishing access shrink. How many boats in Tampa Bay? And only a handful of boat ramps. There's piers and fishing access on piers are shrinking. There's less and less places that allow you to fish. Less and less bridges that allow you to fish. Like, think back to when you were a kid, when I was a kid. The Johns Pass Bridge had a special catwalk built when I was real young to allow fishermen to fish from it and stay away from the sidewalk, stay away from boats going underneath it. Like, they designed the bridge with fishermen in mind. Like, you don't see that nowadays. Yeah. They build these super tall bridges for our nice big boats, and they just ignore the shore-bound or shore-based fishermen.
Yeah, I remember Gandy used to have, if I remember correctly, they had the catwalks there you could fish.
Yeah.
I don't think they have them anymore. I think they tore that down. I don't fish up there much. But.
Yeah, and even Johns Pass, like, when I was a kid, I could walk to any of the docks and pull out a rod and fish. Nowadays, there's 1 dock left in all of Johns Pass you can fish from, and that's our dock. Wow. And, like, every year, I have to get in a knockdown, drag-out fight to allow that to continue.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Everybody wants fishing to totally be shut down in the past. Like, you were allowed to fish off the boardwalk. At night, when all the businesses were closed, you could fish off the boardwalk. They shut that down recently, too. It's crazy. And I don't launch my boat from a boat ramp, and you're blessed to have your boat on a lift too. But the number of boat ramps that we have in Pinellas County and Tampa Bay area is alarming. There's not enough of them, and they're not being maintained.
No, and then even like Simmons Park is
that us?
crazy.
Now your captains, Mike Anderson and Dylan Hubbard.
Captain Dylan Hubbard this morning, no Mike Anderson, but we've got our good buddy Jason Prieto from Steady Action Fishing Charters in studio this morning on News Radio WFLA, Bartow Ford Real Animals Fishing Show. Hopefully you're enjoying the show this morning, and I appreciate you tuning in and hanging out with us this morning. We've got Captain John from Apollo Beach on the line. How you doing this morning, Captain John?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call. How's it going?
Hey, anytime. Appreciate you calling in to the show. So what do you got for us this morning?
Well, just want to let you know, today is Red Fly number 16. It's the largest, longest-running fly fishing for redfish-only tournament, to my knowledge, in the country. So we got the South Shore of Tampa Bay and parts around are going to be littered with fly fishers today looking for redfish. So
interesting.
We're real excited about that. We've broken our record. We have 85 anglers fishing today.
Awesome. Where's the weigh-in?
So,
is there a weigh-in or is it a photo release?
Yep. It's a catch photo release tournament. The weigh-in's going to be at the Salty Shamrock in Apollo Beach. We start weighing in at 3 o'clock, and cutoff time is 4. We have an awesome prize raffle of both fly fishing and non-fly fishing related items, including a full 8-hour charter with Captain Jared Raskop from Silver Kings down in Almirada. And all the raffle, 100% of the raffle proceeds are going to Tampa Bay Waterkeeper.
Awesome. Good cause. And interesting tournament, man. Beautiful location for the weigh-in. I love this Salty Shamrock. It's a cool place. So I appreciate you calling in. That's really cool. What was the name of the tournament again, if someone was looking for info?
It's called Red Fly. If you go on Facebook, just look up Red Fly Tournaments. There's a whole page on it.
Red Fly.
And we started it back in 2008, and this is number 16.
Awesome. Well, thanks for calling in this morning, Captain John. Good luck out there, and hope you do well.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Even if you don't fly fish or fish the tournament, everybody's eligible for the raffles. Come out and support Tampa Bay Waterkeeper.
Amen to that. Good cause, and appreciate you calling in for sure. Good luck out there. And always good to hear about different alternatives and unique sorts of fishing. That's what's beautiful about Tampa Bay. There's so many different ways you can enjoy the fishery. Fly fishing is something I have no skills at whatsoever.
Yeah, it's it's all about the hunt.
Yeah.
I always joke, people like, do you fly fish? I'm like, no, I like catching fish. But that's not a shot on fly fishing, but I'm just not good at fly fishing. It sounds good.
Yeah.
But it's a lot about the hunt and the guys that, one thing about fly fishing, it's a niche market, and the people that do it are very passionate about it.
Yeah.
And it's a cool deal. I always like watching it, but I said, man, it's a lot of casts for.
Yeah. To me, it's a lot like slow pitch jigging or some of these other approaches. It's like, it's so niche and so unique that once you do it, you can get hooked on it pretty easily.
Right.
And it's an interesting way to fish. I like it. I like the idea behind it, but it's all about finesse, and finesse is one thing that I lack.
Yeah. Yeah.
In life and in general. So it's definitely tricky. But I've casted a fly rod a few times. I'm just not any good at it.
Yeah, I've done it a few. I actually have a customer books me, and he teaches some fly stuff. But when he steps on my boat,
taught you.
No, he actually did. He's paying me for a charter. He's like, oh, he gets into it. And I picked it up pretty good.
Yeah.
But when he steps on my boat, he's not a purist. We use some white bait to get him fired off.
There you go.
So, that'll be our little secret.
Notice he didn't mention the name. He's not a purist. That's funny. And it is tricky. It's one of those things you got to set up for and get ahead of the wind. And there's a lot more that goes into it. It's a lot like, in my opinion, kind of like sailing. It's sailing's all about the route, enjoying the way there, not so much the destination. I mean, for me, a spinning rod's going to get me that lure there quickly, right in the strike zone, and if it's not working, I'm moving on,
Yeah, I like outboards.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know, depending on weather, with an outboard is bad enough. without an out with sailing, that would scare me.
It's for the birds.
Yeah.
Let me tell you. I had a poor experience with sailing that totally turned me off from sailing forever.
Yeah.
We as a family, we took a family trip down to this island, and we got dropped off by our charter boat. Took 45 minutes to get there. Easy. 45 minutes there. On the way back, my dad was like, "Oh, our buddy's going to pick us up in a sailboat." And I'm like, "A sailboat? I've never been on a sailboat." Okay. It took 9 hours.
Oh.
9 hours to get back.
Yeah.
No wind. It took 45 minutes to an hour to get from the Skyway to Potter's Pier.
Oof.
Yeah, I could have swam faster, and I almost did. It was treacherous.
That was that for sailing, huh?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
on
that's the last time I'll get on a
over at
sailboat.
the Hubbard's Marina, we're not going to see any sails.
Never, ever. So real quick, want to give a shout out to our friends at Affordable Roofing Systems. If you need a new roof or roof repair, check out our friends at Affordable Roofing Systems. They understand that your roof is a large investment, protects most everything you own. Let Affordable Roofing Systems' 3 decades of experience and roofing knowledge guide you through this important process. Whether you need a shingle, metal, tile, or flat roof, Affordable Roofing Systems is your safest choice for repairs or replacements. Affordable Roofing Systems is defined by integrity, respect, and honesty, and has a personalized and professional approach to doing business. Call Affordable Roofing Systems today at 888-397-ROOF for your free estimate, or visit their website at affordableroofingflorida.com. Just whatever you do, don't get on a sailboat.
Hopefully no sailors are listening.
If you are, it's everybody has their own thing.
I hope you know what you're
doing. And we
doing.
can disagree, and we won't hate each other.
There we
it's
go.
a beautiful thing. But we're going to be back on the other side, guys, talking more about inshore, nearshore, and offshore fishing. Join the conversation. Give us a shout. Give us a report, your favorite lure, whatever you want to talk about. 1-800-969-9352. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy. Hopefully you're getting out on the water today, the calm before the storm. We got more coming up on the other side.
Cassidy's crying, but I don't mind.
The proceeding was a paid program, paid for.
I love how we have a warning on our show. There's when we come back after the 7 o'clock hour, or to start the 7 o'clock hour, there's like a warning, like this, the opinions and viewpoints of the following program are not the opinion of iHeartRadio. It's pretty funny. They do it at the start of every hour.
Oh, yeah. In case you say something to offend somebody.
Yeah. They started that recently, too. Crazy.
Were among the highest per week since the start of the pandemic. Meanwhile, the number of new vaccinations per week increased slightly compared to the week before. Despite the Omicron variant's reported lower severity, the case counts remain higher as the higher transmissibility continues to sweep across the U.S.
Guts.
It's crazy.
Yeah, I just try to fog my brain with as least information that I need, just enough to get through the day. Otherwise, it's...
You just put your tunnel vision on?
For the most part. I mean, my wife's like...
I try not to watch the news ever.
Yeah, I just, it's like I don't need any more negative stuff around me.
Yeah, right? Ain't got no time for that.
No, it just, and there's nothing you can do about most of it, so. Use the minimum information needed. Actually, I'll look at the weather app. Fox 13 is I can go straight and I get their weather clip on video, and then I'm done. Like, I don't have to see nothing else.
Yeah. Yeah, I look at the weather apps and the weather reports, and a lot of times you'll see like breaking news. And then the Fox 13 app, I have the push notifications on. So like if something crazy happens, like a kid goes missing or something, they push the notification to your phone. So you stay up to like the breaking news. And that's all I need to know.
Yeah.
Probably more than I need to know, but at least I'm somewhat in touch. But yeah, I don't ever turn on the TV and turn on a news station.
That's a wicked front, man. Look at that. That thing's
yeah.
It's going to be in the 40s on Monday, 50s, 40s. It's pretty stout. This one here is going to jack fishing up, I think. I just booked a trip on Sunday. Or Tuesday, sorry. And I think
Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday is supposed to be nice.
I know, but I think the bite's going to be horrid.
Because the water's going to be so mixed up in the bay?
Well, it'll just be so cold. When it gets drops like that. The river might be okay.
Yeah.
I don't know what bait's going to do. Bait's been holding good. I haven't even run the bridge that much.
So you get bait on the flats?
No, the markers.
Markers coming out of the Little Manatee.
Yeah, I've been running south to the port or north, but this front here will jack it up.
When you say the bridge, what bridge are you getting bait on?
Skyway.
The Skyway.
Fishing pier.
That's a haul.
Yeah, 30 miles there and back just to get bait. I rarely run it anymore. There's bait inside the bay.
Yeah.
When it gets real cold, there's a couple weeks that I'll run it. But yeah, especially now, I mean, fuel.
So you run all the way there just to get bait and then come back?
And fish the Little Manatee River.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, when it's there, I can usually, it's a few weeks out of the year we have to make that run. But I got pins at my house too, so like if it's going to be windy, I'll pin bait up. But the bait won't hold, it gets weak.
Yeah.
Do you guys
especially
ever
in fresh
pin
water.
Bait up?
No, we don't pin bait up. So we've had trouble with live bait recently because of the red tide and stuff, but we mainly do shrimp, which is easy.
Yeah.
Except for in the summertime, trying to keep them alive. But pinfish is a big thing that we do, and what we do is we take orders from our guests. You can put in an order for pinfish up to 48 hours in advance for your trip. And then about 48 hours in advance of the trip, we put our orders in with our bait guy.
You got a bait guy?
Yeah, and then our bait guy goes out there and traps the pinfish. And he'll sabiki pinfish too, but for the volume that we need, you got to trap the bait. Yeah. And then he'll trap them, bring them in, and put them in a tank, and they stay in the tank for a maximum of like 16 to 18 hours. Then we get them out and sell them all, or just get rid of them because they don't stay alive and they get bad in the tank really quick. But the problem is going out and trapping bait or throwing a cast net for pinfish or sabiki and pinfish is fishing.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is if water's rough and it's 6 foot seas, you can't go out in a 19-foot bait boat and go catch bait. No. So we've been, and with red tide, a lot of the pinfish went deep water. Like guys, commercial or charter captains, were putting their pinfish traps at like 7, 8, 9, 10 miles. Yeah. And you can't run out there to 10 miles and back in a bait boat. No. He was running all the way up to Clearwater, north of Clearwater Pass, to trap bait for us. So like an hour and a half trip there and back, or just there. So like almost 3 hours round trip.
Oh, I've noticed the difference on bait this year. Certain spots north was bad. Like there's certain areas around the Spore Islands we get bait in the summer. I'll get all the way through December.
Yeah.
Wasn't there this year. And I've got it there before I was guiding. Every year it's there. And this red tide in the bay this year was the worst I've ever seen in the bay.
Really?
Yeah, 05 it was kind of bad. I remember because I started guiding end of 04. But I mean, there was dead fish everywhere. It's just been different, man.
Yeah, it definitely changed it.
The following program are not those of WFLA AM, its staff, management, or parent company, iHeartMedia Incorporated.
Welcome to the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, your weekly voyage into Florida fishing. Presented by Hubbard's Marina, hosted by Captain Mike Anderson and Captain Dylan Hubbard.
You know how I know our show is good? Because they have a disclaimer.
We're covered.
We're covered. Now we can say whatever we want. Right, Rob? That's how that works.
Yeah.
It's like we said, with all due respect. So now we're good.
I mean, that's a give or take right there.
I mean, are we in the gray area?
I mean,
Mike's not here.
No, see, that's the funny thing, right? Is with the disclaimer, it's like, well, we can give you fishing advice. We just don't want you coming up in here being like,
If you
well,
don't
are
catch
you a
fish-
real fishing captain?
If you don't catch fish, don't get mad at us.
Where's
right?
your license?
People ask me that all the time. Are we going to catch fish today? I was like, well,
You're not wearing your captain's hat, man. Where's your funny captain's hat?
I know, right?
the boat will catch fish. I don't know about you. That's my favorite response. It's always funny to see how it rolls and how things evolve. And sometimes my favorite thing is watching that person that comes on the boat almost aggressive in the morning. Like, are we going to get him today? Last time I came, it was tough. And I experienced that this past week. This gentleman showed up. It was a group, a private charter. And he was like, last time I was here, it was really tough. And we're giving you another chance. I hope we get him today. And I was like, yeah, the weather looks good. You have a good shot at it. And just got to stay positive.
You mean you don't have a magic wand you wave to predict?
Unfortunately not. I mean, with fishing, there's certain variables that go into it. And you have, through experience and just knowledge, you can guesstimate when optimal times will be or where you have a higher or lower chance. But it's not science.
No. Well, yesterday, it's like, what do you think we'll catch today? I said, we'll probably catch some fish. Maybe catch this, maybe catch that. I said, we might not catch anything at this spot. It was a spot. I said, we usually catch this, that, and, I said, but we might not catch anything here. I don't know. I said, every day is it went fishing. One thing I've learned, every day is a new day.
Yep.
And to be a good charter captain, you throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and you see what sticks. And some days, none of it sticks. And you just chalk it up as it's a bad day of fishing.
And that's when you fall back on that wonderful winning personality, right, Jason?
Yes. Yes, that's when my people skills come out.
That's all part of it.
Yeah.
We've got Captain Jim Fogel on the line for our safe boating tip of the week. How you doing this morning?
Great. Yeah, looks like it's going to be a good day.
Yeah. One of the last good days, right?
Good. Yeah, but I think if you're going to be out this afternoon, you probably want to be careful because even though this morning's supposed to be pretty light, this afternoon I think it's supposed to get kind of bumpy, and you don't want to get caught out in that.
Amen to that. Gotta watch the weather and stay up to date with what's going on in the sky, right?
Oh yeah, always. Now we, for years we've had fire extinguisher regulations, and any boat of any size with a closed compartment where you keep your gasoline tank or where your gasoline tank lives has to have at least one fire extinguisher. We've known that for years. And as we inspect vessels, we come upon ones that are extremely old, but they are still in the green. Well, effective this April the 20th, there's a new rule coming out. It says if the fire extinguisher is older than 12 years, it's considered expired and it should be removed. Now, there's kind of an iffy thing there. It says, look for wording on the bottle stating this product must be removed from service within 12 years after date of manufacturing. Now, I've got two of them right here in the house that used to be in boats. And one of them is like 8 years old and one of them is like 15 years old. And neither one of them have that statement on there. So that's going to muddy up the water a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, this is for recreational boats only, by the way, guys. It does not affect you guys. Just for recreational vessels, all right?
So we don't need fire extinguishers?
I think that's what he
you
said.
need more. Oh, no. Either that or a lot of buckets. I'm going to tell you that right now.
I feel like if there's a fire next to your fuel tank, you better have a fire extinguisher or a quick exit plan.
I'm not very smart, but I know with fuel and fire is typically something you don't want to mix together.
Especially
exactly.
guys.
That's the only time we say that you should abandon ship.
There's one time.
The only time.
Well, I will tell you this. I've heard of some bad accidents over the years with fuel and boats. And one thing that I am cautious of is always, if your bilge pump kicks on, always look at the bilge. If you see some kind of film, you got an issue. Check your bilge on a daily basis. Open it, make sure, because fuel tanks crack, they break, hoses get popped off.
Exactly. Absolutely right.
Be cautious of your surroundings, because I can promise you electronics kicking on with fuel and the vapors are the worst. Make sure your tank's venting and all that. So
If you smell fuel or see fuel, stop.
Yeah.
Exactly. If look down in that bilge before you start it every morning, and certainly after you fill up again. And if you smell it, figure out why, and if you see it, forget it. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to call for help and get it taken out or get it pumped out or something. Okay, guys, keep up the good work.
I appreciate
Thanks for the time. Yes, sir. Me too. For the Coast Guard Auxiliary in St. Pete's, Jim Fogle. Be safe out there.
See you, buddy. Thank you. Always a pleasure, and good tips there. I mean, for us being U.S. Coast Guard inspected, we have incredible numbers of fire extinguishers on the boat that have to be maintained very frequently. It's basically a line item every month. We have a company come in and check all the fire extinguishers between the
That's a great
10 different
idea,
boats.
because as busy as you guys are, that's something that would, if you have a company hired in to do it, then it's done. And
especially on the big boats, you have so many different types of fire extinguishers. Definitely some interesting information there. Different sorts of fires, A, B, C, and D. Very, very cool stuff that you need to know, especially as you get onto bigger boats and want to be safe out there for sure. Fire school.
Yeah, I just know that you don't mix fuel and.
That's the important stuff. Jason, you got the basics.
I keep it simple, man. I'm a very simple person. Fuel and electrical spark is not good. Any kind of spark is usually not good. So, the other thing is when you're pumping fuel, make sure you're not putting it in a rod holder.
Yeah,
I watched a guy at O'Neill's was pumping away, and the bilge pump kicks off, and he's put about 30 gallons in there, and it was a mess. And it happens easily,
Yeah. And a bilge pump pumping gas can ignite it.
Yes.
It can ignite it. Just a bilge pump kicking on can ignite a certain amount of vapors. So definitely something you don't want to play with. We don't have any callers on the board, so now's my opportunity to ask you that question. I've been burning on my mind. So we talked in the first segment a little bit about snook and kind of what they do in this colder temperature, which is seek that warmer water, like creeks, rivers, sun-baked seawalls, that dark bay mud and canals and rivers is what they're looking for to regulate their temperatures. But what about the redfish? What do the redfish do behind these fronts?
Redfish, I think, all fish, when you have the high pressure, they're gonna get lockjaw, so to speak.
And that high pressure builds behind the fronts is what you're talking about.
The bluebird skies, high pressure builds in. It puts, pressure on their internal organs. They don't want to eat as well. I like fishing deeper water stuff in those situations. Rule of thumb, the flats, even if it's redfish or trout, they can survive, but they're still going to be cold. The redfish are probably the best of the three, I would think.
Mm-hmm.
But they're real skittish this time. The water's super clear on the flats. Not to say you won't catch them, and when they scoot off versus the summer, they seem to really move out of an area when you spook them. So they're just a little bit hard to target. Downsizing your leader is a good idea if you're doing just redfish, maybe 20, even 15. Longer cast, maybe have a rod lined up with real thin braid. You can make super long casts if you're on the flats. And things like that, and then I on charters I kind of like just target deeper creeks with some kind of muddy or oyster bottom. Fish towards the deeper part of the creek versus the edges. Or if you got a lot of sun out, if you got a tower, you can look and you'll see these fish will actually stack up on the edges of the creek in sun in midday. Start your trips later. There's no sense in being out there at 7 o'clock if it's freezing. Start it the hottest part of the day, like a 10 to 2 or 11 to 3, and you'll find more success during that. You got to mix that with your tides and of course your major feeds help out. But
so colder temps starting midday, in that midday time frame, you can get up in a tower, try to sight fish more on the edges because it's warmer. Those redfish will be trying to sun themselves, whereas kind of that morning period and kind of afternoon period, they're going to be in deeper water, hanging out in that warmer water, and lighter tackle, cut bait is what you're saying, basically.
Yeah, I like shrimp for redfish. Pop the tail off and back feed the shrimp through a jig head, let it sit on the bottom. Redfish they eat a lot of crustaceans. They're naturally a bottom feeder, and they like creeks and stuff like that. So not to say you won't catch them on the flats. There's plenty of them. They just seem to really be tough,
Spread out.
Yeah, it's kind of like to me, like you see all these sheep's head on the flats. I don't ever catch a lot of them. You do catch them on the flats. I like fishing ledges and stuff like you would fish grouper. Or I've got some numbers out there. And it's like a whole different breed of sheep's head out there. They seem to be more comfortable in their environment. They eat better. Where you get on the flats, they're real skittish.
It sounds like you're working smarter, not harder.
I like dumb fish. They make my job easier, So smart fish tend to fight me a little bit. So I try to make the job a little easier.
Yeah.
And this is just stuff you learn from doing it every day. I'm sure offshore there's tricks that wow, that worked better, and you just put that in the memory bank. So it's the same thing with snook reds and trout. Just reds and trout react. They'll in cooler temperatures they'll react better.
So would you say that redfish and trout are more likely to act similar compared to snook, which is a little different?
They do. Cooler? They just their temperature window is a little bit more.
I got you.
I remember when we had 2010, the big snook kill, and we had that cold weather, and I had some trips with sunny days. It was cold, and there's 100 trout laying on the grass flats on the edge, just sunning. You throw an artificial or throw a shrimp, and they move out of the way and sit like they're just trying to get as much sun as they could. And it was trout, but it was just the water was low 50s. It was crazy cold. So it's just the warmer water gets. It don't really matter what fish it is, they get them more active.
Interesting. Well, more of that on the other side. We've picked your brain, Captain Jason Prieto of Steady Action Fishing Charters, on snook and redfish. We've still got some time coming up. We're going to talk a little bit about sheep's head behind these fronts. We've got William from Crystal River talking about grouper opening on the other side. You can join the conversation too at 1-800-969-9352. Real Animals Radio. We'll be right back.
How's the hogfish been?
Hogfish? It's been steady. Hasn't been real crazy. November was really, really good, and then even into beginning of December, then it kind of dipped, then it came back a little bit, and it's been just steady.
Hasn't been. People have found out about hogfish in the last 6 or 8 years.
Big time. Yeah. I feel like hog fishing became a thing like maybe 12, 15 years ago, and just has proliferated exponentially. And it seems like every day more people are out there doing it. And spear fishing them too. That's why this time of year I think is better fishing for hogfish, because this is the time of year where they congregate better and they're not getting spearfished. There's no one jumping in the water and swimming down and shooting them in the head. So. Or at least less people doing it. So I think that helps a lot. But they definitely get a lot of pressure. And I think, in my opinion, the minimum size limit change was a bad idea, just because they are so susceptible to barotrauma. You reel up a 12-inch hogfish that used to be a keeper that you have to now release. A lot of times, if you reel it up, it's the first hogfish they ever catch. They want to take a couple photos of it. Even in 40 foot of water, they're all blowed up and they don't want to go back down. So you really got to be careful with them and get them back in the water quickly. If they're not a keeper, they float off on you. And their anatomy, they have those crushers in their throat. So when their stomach does come out through their mouth, even if you use a descending device and you do everything right, a venting tool or a descending device, and you get them back down quickly, they can still injure their stomach as it protrudes their mouth from those crushers in their throat.
Oh, they got crushers like a redfish then?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because they're strictly crustacean eaters. So they got a lot of stuff in their throat that can damage their stomach.
Interesting.
So the trick to them hogfish, you got to get them back in the water immediately if they're not keepers, or you have to use a descending device or venting tool. And I think we're killing a lot of hogfish because you catch a lot of 10, 12, 13-inch hogfish that you got to release to catch a bunch of keepers. I mean, there's some days on our 10-hour trips where you'll catch 60, 70 throwback hogs to catch 35, 40 keepers, my last hogfish trip, because you said it earlier that people use fishing to escape. I love to go fishing for fun on our trips and just ride along and maybe have too many beers and just fish for fun, get away from my phone for the day. The last trip I went on like that, just fishing for fun, was a 12-hour trip. I caught 6 hogfish that were all like 12, 13 inches. Yeah. Everybody around me is keeper hogfish. I caught 6. I caught a lot of hogfish, but they were all baby hogfish. So frustrating. Hogfish is the great equalizer, dude. The kid next to you who's using steel leaders who never fished before will catch a big keeper hogfish, and you can have the right tackle, all the knowledge, and everything right, and you won't get them. Yeah. Or you'll get the juveniles. It's crazy. That's why I like it so much. It's fun. But it's definitely not my favorite kind of fishing. I'd much rather go deeper. And if I have limited time, so if I'm going to go fishing, I like going out. Yeah. Catching those mangrove snapper in deep water. Some 6, 7, 8 pound mangrove snapper. They're fun. That's my favorite kind of fishing. Deep water mangroves.
We'll run 30 miles out and just do some fun fishing once a year, some buddies.
That's fun.
Yeah, get offshore, mess with that. I have no desire to ever do that offshore.
Yeah.
I don't know how they can make a living doing it.
Yeah, it's tricky.
Show presented by Hubbard's Marina. Now your captains, Mike Anderson and Dylan Hubbard.
We're back talking fishing on News Radio WFLA, Real Animals Radio Show. Captain Dylan Hubbard, and in studio this morning we've got our special guest, Captain Jason Prieto from Steady Action Fishing Charters. We've got another full board here. We're going to rattle through some of these calls. We got William from Crystal River, who's been waiting a while, talking about grouper opening. How you doing this morning, William?
Hey, Captain's doing fine. I was wondering if you heard about the Goliath grouper opening and wondering how they're going to spread that out for people. And I don't know if it's a fish I'd want to eat because it's gotten pretty old and pretty big. What is your feelings about the whole Goliath grouper opening?
My personal feelings is I love the idea of a very limited science collection. It should be a mandatory science collection because you can't do a stock assessment to a closed harvest fishery. You can't do a stock assessment without dead fish. You need dead fish to create what's called an age and growth composition table, and that age and growth composition table is the main driver behind fisheries dependent science. So there's 2 types of fisheries science: fishery independent and fisheries dependent. Obviously, it kind of speaks for itself. Fisheries independence is scientists out in the water collecting data for themselves, and then fishery dependent is data that they pull from fishermen and from the fishery, meaning dead fish. And when you close a fishery, like they closed Goliath grouper, you lose fishery dependent data. So they no longer have otolith data. They no longer have the details they need to complete a scientific stock assessment on the fishery and really gauge the health of the overall population. So this will really help, in my opinion, to collect some data and to build back that fisheries dependent science, and that's why it's such a limited harvest. So a lot of people I talk to are like,
I'm surprised they open it at all, but
yeah,
I know it's been something a lot of people have been asking for a long time. You put a big fish on a reef that's going to eat all the smaller fish. So
yep.
I know for a long time people have been concerned about the abundance of them and how much they can just eat everything around them.
They
wouldn't be that big if they didn't have the fish to eat.
Yes, in my opinion, it's a huge issue. I mean, we've caught Goliath grouper. I remember one recently that I caught in about a 80 foot of water. It came up and it spit up over 24 Florida spiny lobster.
Wow.
They love stone crab and lobster, and they just totally will clean out an area. So I think it's a good thing to get the science back, and it's a very limited harvest for that reason. They're just trying to get enough samples to build back that fisheries dependent science and to hopefully get a better idea of the population. And after a few years of that very limited harvest, they'll have some information to work off of whether the fishery is healthy and they can move forward and continue to expand it. So in my opinion, I think the tags could be a little cheaper, But it's one of those things. It hasn't been approved yet. In March, I think, is the next time FWC is going to discuss it. So we'll know more then. But I support a very limited scientific harvest of Goliath grouper to build back that data, in my opinion, at least.
I've said years ago,
I know it's
why don't they do a tag system?
Yeah,
Then
well,
they
that's what they're
finally did it. Yeah.
proposing. It's a tag system like Gators. So I love it, and it's something we've asked for and wanted for a long time. So I'm happy to see it moving forward.
I know it's a fishing show, but go Bucks! And next
Go
week
Bucks.
We got to play Green Bay, so I wonder which way Mike's going to root for on that one.
Oh, he's going to root for Green Bay, but he's not here.
I'm glad he's not here because he's pretty big, and I'd have to have my Bucks hat on. I'll represent, but yeah, go
Get
Bucks.
past the Eagles, we got to play the Green Bay at home up there in the cold tundra. But
We beat them last year. We can do it again.
To all the
Next
Green
time
Bay
you do
fans
words-
and the Philly
Next time you
fans.
use words, hope you're saying them fish on. Thanks for being there, guys.
Thank you, man. Always a pleasure, William. Oh, man. What were you going to say?
We got the GOAT, so we'll be fine. I mean, you can never bet against that guy.
Yeah, you can't count Tom Brady
I can
down.
barely get up to run a fishing charter, and he's about the same age. I think he is the same age as me. That guy's unbelievable.
He is. It's truly amazing to watch him work. I've always kind of had issue with Tom Brady, but now that he's on our team, it's like, he's the GOAT. He's the greatest ever.
He signed with the Bucks. Now I love him. So it's
talk about being a fair weather fan. I am 100% a fair weather Tom Brady fan. So
Yeah.
I'll admit it.
Hey, he's on our team. He's on the right team now. So.
Yeah. So now it's okay. And Gronk too. I've always liked Gronk. He's always been
he's
a funny
awesome.
guy.
He never says the wrong thing, and he's just like.
His
like
commercials. His commercials are hilarious.
He's great.
We do have a full board, but we are up against a break, so I don't want to rush you guys. We got Jim from Parrish talking Skyway fishing, and Steve from Palm Harbor asking about fishing seasons. Got some good info for you, Steve, so hang on there. Bear with us. We will definitely get to your calls on the other side, and you can call too. Join the conversation. 1-800-969-9352. Real Animals Radio brought to you by Bartow Ford. We'll be right back.
It's gonna be real warm today. I think I'll stay home. Sit beneath this
How them Yamaha 425s?
The Yamaha 425s are sick.
Are they?
Yeah, when we first installed them, we had a little bit of issues, but it was mostly a power issue because they're so new and so unique. They need 100% clean power. If there's any variation in power,
voltage drops.
Yeah, any voltage drop, like milliamps.
Mercury's pretty dependent on that. A lot of them are now.
Yeah, almost all new motors because of they all are fly-by-wire and they're all electronically controlled. There's no bar. There's no hydraulic steering. It's all an electronic steering process.
Actually, Will was telling me that.
Yeah, they're really cool, and they're built for those joystick controls. We don't have the joystick controls because we're Coast Guard inspected, but they're really, really fancy. And all new motors are, but because of that, you have to have really clean power plans, and that was our issue to start.
I didn't understand that motor is the weight. It's so heavy.
Oh, it's a huge motor, but the boat's 26,000 pounds. So
yeah, your boat wouldn't matter, but and they're putting them on like 26-foot single engine. But God, that motor's like almost 1,000 pounds. I was like, man, you guys.
I was cruising around in my father-in-law's boat. Yeah, and I saw that motor on like 26, 27, 28-foot boats.
Yeah.
It's a bad-to-the-bone motor. It has more horsepower or more thrust in reverse than any motor, any outboard engine I've ever come across.
Yeah.
Because like I said, the Flying Hub 2 is 26,000 pounds, almost 27,000 pounds. It's only got two of them. You put that thing in reverse, if you give it too much juice and you're not ready, everybody's going to fall over, and you're going to almost put the tail end into the water.
Wow.
The back end sinks. It dumps it.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's got a ton of thrust in reverse. They are very unique motors. And we've tried every sort of motor on that boat. We started with Yamaha 300s, which were just too small. And we had some issues because we were just over revving them and overrunning them. We tried Mercury, which Mercury is a great engine for high end, and if you don't need a lot of torque and you're not using and abusing them, it's a great racing engine, but it just didn't have the power. The block didn't have the power we needed. And then we went to a Yamaha 350, after Mercury we went to Honda, which was an absolute nightmare. I will never, ever buy a Honda outboard engine ever again. Then we went to Suzuki with the dual props, the 350s. Total nightmare there. And then went to Yamaha 350s and loved them. Yeah, loved the Yamaha 350s. And then that worked pretty well for us. And it still was underpowered. And when the 425s came out, we went for it. We took the plunge, and they have been incredible. So.
Yeah, obviously I'm a Merc guy. The Verado, the old one, the inlines though, they're supercharged, so they got torque, but it's up in the upper RPM range.
Yeah, Mercury's a great engine, and there's a lot of good companies around that work with Mercury. The problem with Honda was just service. You could not get them serviced. There's no one around, and Honda parts impossible to get. Suzuki is getting better. There's Precision Marine, there's Mastery, there's a lot of Suzuki now. Even Pro Marine has got them, so there's a lot more parts available. So Suzuki's getting better, but we just had a lot of problems with those 350s. For me, it was just the biggest driving force behind Yamaha and why we have gone completely Yamaha across our fleet was just the fact that they have such good service through Central Marine and all the
Yamaha
and the parts are everywhere.
Both of them are going to they're the big players.
Yeah, I mean the vice president of Marine Outboards was helping us with our 425s, figuring out that power issue.
Yeah,
it was incredible.
Yeah.
So I will always be Yamaha. We have, I think, 8 Yamaha motors on order right now.
I got 3 myself, Mercs.
Yeah.
It's crazy. They don't even give me dates.
Yeah.
It took me 9 months to get a 300 V8.
Yeah.
That new V8 platform is pretty unbelievable, man.
I don't like the cowlings. I don't know what they're doing with the cowlings. Yeah.
I got my 28. I get at 40, I can get 3.2 miles a gallon at 40 mile an hour on a 28-foot boat. Single engine.
That's stupid.
The V8s are unbelievable in fuel. It is, and it's shocking. I'm like, this shouldn't happen. I mean, my buddy.
That's on a cruise, 3.2 miles per
running
gallon.
40 mile an hour. The boat runs like 53.
I hate you.
He ran it offshore, 50-something miles. Actually, I ran from here to Crystal River, loaded down kids, everything, all the way to Plantation from Ruskin. I averaged 2.6 miles a gallon, running the Gulf the whole way down. I was running 38 to 40 the whole way.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, they're just unbelievable in fuel.
That's amazing.
Just getting one is the...
Yeah.
They're building my new boat now, and the motor thankfully showed up. I was like...
In November at the CCA Pinellas banquet, I was talking to a guy from Pro Marine, and they said at that time, in early November, Mercury was on a 72-month wait.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
Their 450 is 2023.
Holy moly.
They're like over a year, and
That's
they're
crazy.
$60,000 a pop, and
Yeah.
they're that far out on them. Because all the offshore boats either run the 425 or they're running the 450 Merc.
Yeah.
And everybody, the offshore scene is crazy. And they're putting 4 of them on each boat or 3.
Well, I mean, the size of center consoles, 54-foot yellowfin. It's like, just get a frickin' sport fishing boat. And even sport fishing boats, now they're putting outboard engines.
That's where the
on sport
market's
fishing.
changing. I was talking to Kevin at Mastery, and he's like, yeah, the people are making the switch.
Yeah.
So it's, unfortunately, it's back ordering motors to the point of no return.
Yeah. It's definitely crazy.
It's frustrating, man. Like, you know, I get a boat every year, and I just ordered a motor for my next boat next year. This time. I hope it shows up. I'm just like, let's just order it.
You have to order them early.
Yeah.
This is the Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show, presented by Hubbard's Marina. Now your captains, Mike Anderson and Dylan Hubbard.
Every time I hear that intro, I get depressed. I miss Captain Mike. He'll be back next week, though, guys. Don't worry. You're not stuck with me too long. Captain Dylan Hubbard here on News Radio WFLA on our Bartow Ford Real Animals Radio Show. On this beautiful Saturday morning, in studio, we got our good friend, Captain Jason Prieto from Steady Action Fishing Charters in studio this morning talking fishing. And we got a full board here. We're going to rattle through some of these calls. We've got Jim from Parrish, Florida, talking Skyway fishing. How you doing this morning, Jim?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Doing well, buddy. Doing well. We got a little bit of background noise. If you can get out of the wind or wherever you're at, it would help out.
Yeah,
but
I'm on I-4 here, so I'm not. I'll try and I'll keep it kind of brief here.
Okay.
I'm new to the Skyway Bridge, about maybe 8 weeks into fishing there, and one thing I observed from the fishing or from the bird people, I had 2 vehicles pull up around me that were clearly marked as associated with them, and they got out and started feeding the birds. And as I watched this, I said, how can this be helping the situation out here?
Yeah.
And, you know, they had 5-gallon buckets of bait, and they were throwing it to the birds. And to me, that's just teaching the birds to interact with us.
Yeah, no, I definitely can understand your point, and I will give some feedback on that, Jim. If you don't mind, I appreciate your call and appreciate your question, and we'll definitely discuss that. But I'm going to let you go just so we can get that background noise out of the way, and definitely feel free to call back with more questions. Call back, and appreciate your call. So hopefully you can continue and listen on to the answer to that question you brought up, but definitely feel free to call back in the future there, bud. So they bird groups like Friends with Pelicans, and there's some others that are out there like Birds in Helping Hands, Owl's Nest. There's Suncoast Seabird Sanctuary. We work with a guy named Bill who has his own thing going on. We have like 5 groups that we work with at Hubbard's Marina that we call pretty regularly. And if you call one of those organizations and you say, hey, there's an injured bird here, they show up with a bucket of bait, and that's how they attract those injured birds in. The problem is you've got one injured pelican, and you start throwing bait to try to get that injured pelican close enough for you to net. You're going to attract 10 other pelicans with them. So, yes, it does from a fisherman's perspective, outside looking in, maybe not realizing there was a phone call or a complaint about an injured bird or an entangled bird or a pelican with a hook in it, or a pelican with a lure in the side. You might not necessarily see it or know the background, but yeah, they do feed the birds to get them, lure them close enough to net. And it is kind of counterintuitive because you're not able to feed seabirds. It's actually against FWC regulations. You cannot feed any seabirds. It's 100% illegal. But for the greater good, sometimes you can get away with things like that, trying to save the bird and rescue the bird or rehabilitate a bird with an injured wing. Unfortunately, part of that is you got to catch them first. And just like a fish, gotta have some bait in the water to catch them.
Yeah, that's a tough deal. Nobody wants to kill the birds, but people want to fish. It's simple. So they got to find the happy medium with it to make everybody.
Yeah, but that is a good point, though, is what he's asking is, doesn't it make it worse on us out there on the Skyway? And that's true.
Seems like they come with a different method to get the bird or something. I don't.
Well, that's one of the things they're working on out there is they're trying to get funding to get a boat. Because if they had a boat, they could then target that injured bird by just cruising up to it. And they call us a lot, too, because we have a boat over at the Bay Pier at Fort DeSoto.
Yeah.
And when we're available, we will use that boat to take people out there and try to capture the birds. And we do it in Johns Pass all the time. We actually have injured bird carrying cases. I think they're like cat carriers under our stairs. And that's strictly what they're used for.
You guys do it all over there, don't you?
Oh yeah, well, we have staff. We call them dock masters, and they help greet guests and kind of load and unload trips. But a majority of their job description during the day is to unhook pelicans and help seabirds and maintain the bait area, because like during the summertime, as I mentioned, we're the only dock in Johns Pass that allows fishing. And on a Saturday in the summertime when the kids are out of school, there'll be 25 kids out there fishing.
But that's good because they're teaching the kids how to take care of the pelicans, because it's inedible. It's going to happen that you're going to hook. I can't talk this morning. You're going to hook a pelican here and there, and knowing how to deal with that situation is going to be.
And knowing how to avoid it is one thing that we try to teach too. But it is hard when you're fishing on a pier. maybe that pelican's coming up underneath the pier and you don't see him. And he comes out and swipes at your bait, and you might hook him. And you got to reel him in. You got to get that hook out. It's definitely important. And all part of it, all part of fishing. Just like if you hook a shark, you got to get that line out of the shark or whatever fish you're targeting. If you're brave enough to unhook a fish, you should be brave enough to unhook a bird, in my opinion. We've got Steve from Palm Harbor talking fishing seasons. What's going on, Steve? How are you this morning?
I enjoy the show, fellas. My question, first, is the seasons for fishing. What's open? What can we keep inshore?
Yes, sir. So
and offshore.
Yeah. I mean, in order to give you a full rundown, we would need another 2-hour-long show, but
especially offshore.
Yes, and the biggest thing that I could tell you. The biggest thing that I could tell you and the best advice I could give you is if you go onto our website, hubbardsmarina.com, click fishing trips, and then scroll down to fishing rules and regulations. There's a link there that'll take you to the Fish Rules app website. You can either go to the Fish Rules app website or you can download the app on your phone, and I highly recommend the app. It's so awesome because
it's a great app.
It's a great app. We all use it. And it actually works based off your cell phone's GPS. So it gives you the regulations for the fish depending on where your cell phone is located. So if you're fishing in a lake in Lakeland, it'll give you freshwater regulations for that lake you're fishing on. If you're fishing in Tampa Bay,
I'm thinking golf and seawater. I think most of it's just sheepshead that you can keep inshore now.
Trout and reds have been open. They have the other problem is not even what's opened or closed. It's what is the correct sizes. What is the window of fish to keep? So, the app is very easy, and you can basically just put the fish that you want in the area, and it kind of tells you, what works. But inshore is a little bit easier than
I understand,
offshore.
but I guess the biggest catastrophe we've had is letting our habitat get built up and not being able to have the natural reproduction of the fish cycle of life. I know CCA has been recently dumped 10,000 redfish out at Weeden Island.
Yep.
I think they're a great organization, but the politicians will let these houses be built where they shouldn't be in flood zones and in the areas where the fish used to be able to have a habitat aren't there anymore because of the runoff and pollution. And I'm going to go after the politicians. I think that's part of it. What
you're getting
most
at.
of it's your county commissioners that have allowed this stuff to be built.
Yeah, what you're getting at, Steve, is you're talking about the hardening of the coastline, and that's a great point. And basically, we have to work to soften our shoreline. And one thing that I'm working on with the good people over at St. Pete Fishing Outfitters, Daniel Kroger at Krogel, and Captain Planet from down in Nokomis, Florida, is this artificial reef system. It's a really, really cool artificial reef system. We just did an install at Hubbard's Marina, and we've got a bunch more artificial reefs that are looking for homes around Treasure Island, Madeira Beach, and in the local area. And what these things are, they're plastic, not plastic, it's a type of polyurethane. And it floats underneath your dock, and you don't need a permit for it because it's not interacting with the bottom, and because it's attached underneath your dock, it already fits in the footprint of your dock. There's no permitting process required, and what it does is it builds up growth, and that growth naturally filters the water and helps soften our shorelines, because what you're saying is overdevelopment. When you take a mangrove shoreline and you slap a seawall around it and you build a landfill, you have a beautiful neighborhood on the coastline where everybody wants to be, but you've taken away that natural coastline and that natural ability to filter water. So these soft artificial reefs are helping increase growth. So Eco Conservation Project is Captain Planet's organization that we're working with to raise funds for. So St. Pete Fishing Outfitters, Tampa Fishing Outfitters, Tarpon Fishing Outfitters, and Hubbard's Marina got together and raised some funds, and we got I think 20 some artificial reefs ready to install, and
Mm-hmm.
we're raising more funds to do more of that. And we're also working with some other local organizations to hopefully get some bottom artificial reefs, because those like oyster balls are awesome, and they promote even better growth and even more structure for fish and juvenile fish. So there's things in the works, and there's organizations that you can work with that will help build back that ecosystem. And CCA is doing a lot of that through oyster restoration and mangrove shoreline. So there is hope, Steve, but you're right. Yeah,
Well,
you definitely want to make sure.
I did see last week in the news about the tires on the Atlantic coast that were sunk, like tens of thousands of tires. This was done 20 plus years ago, and they thought they were going to make an artificial reef.
Not a good idea.
It didn't work properly.
Well, we appreciate the phone call.
That?
Yeah, I didn't see that specifically, but we've ran into that off our coastline where they dumped, it was barges, and the barges had tires chained around the outside of it, and chains rust and dissipate, and tires never go away. So they end up just getting hooked or floating back up on our beaches. So it's not a good idea to use tires, but the hard structures like oyster balls are the best, and then these soft floating artificial reefs are kind of a second bet and easier to get done because they don't require permitting. So that's what we're working on. I appreciate your call this morning, Steve. Thanks for giving us a shout, buddy.
You're welcome. Good day.
See you, buddy. So definitely important stuff that we want to keep our eye on and pay attention to here as we move into an even more popular destination to live.
Yes. Yeah, the growth is crazy. And
I mean, in your area, it's blowing up on the South Shore of Tampa Bay.
There's there's just crazy amounts of houses going in, and I wouldn't say it's a bad thing. I would say, we've got to do it right.
Yeah, responsible growth plans.
Yeah.
I mean, we're all our Florida. Our economy is our water, and we got to take care of our water and our estuarine ecosystem. So responsible growth plans. You can't build a sewage system around a city. You got to build the city around the sewage system. And smart, forward-thinking planning all starts with our politicians. So Steve was right. You definitely want to make sure that people you're voting for care about responsible growth plans and infrastructure investments. That's so important. We've seen that in St. Pete. Continue to build high-rise apartments and don't pay attention to the infrastructure underneath it. You can't add more toilets without strengthening your sewer system first. Logic. Seems to be missing.
Common sense will take you a long way in life.
And again, I want to reiterate, if you don't agree, it doesn't mean you have to hate people. All right. We got more show. We got another small segment coming up. And the last segment of the day, we are going to focus on picking Captain Jason's brain on some sheep's head tips, because that's going to be a fish of the week coming up with this big cold front. So stay tuned on the other side. We got a little bit more show here. You don't want to miss out. Real Animals Radio. We'll be right back.
I'm Steven Ranella.
What it is, man. I've been waking up at like 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
And like, kind of can't go to bed, and I fall back asleep. And I get up at 4:35. I'm just like,
Well, getting older and having more stress in your life.
yeah, like your brain's rolling on what you need to do. And
yeah. I wake up 3-4 times a night like that. My trick is I just grab my phone and write down what's popped in my brain, what's keeping me awake at night, and then I put my phone back down, and a lot of times that'll help me fall back asleep, just getting it out of your head. It's crazy, though. I wake up like that all the time. Like,
yeah, like you're just thinking, and
yeah.
I'm like, quit thinking, I just want to go to bed.
I dream about fishing charters and fish and business.
It's a life, this ain't a job, it's a lifestyle.
Yeah. I had a dream about SEO keywords the other night.
It's a nightmare to me, man.
Yeah. It's definitely tricky. Well, we started a media company, and so now we're getting into website building, video. I got a drone. I'm getting my pilot's license so we can do drone video. And now we're talking about buying a vinyl printing press because this printing company that we've worked with is getting out of the business.
Yeah.
So we're talking about buying all their hardware. So we'll have a full marketing company where we'll build your website, we'll do your SEO, we'll make your videos, and we'll print your freaking signs too.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. But it's growing fast, and that's definitely a little bit scary. But good problem to have.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, the more you take on, the more it takes.
Yeah.
You just gotta.
But I mean, in my in our industry, you have to diversify, especially offshore. The way fishery access is going is more and more fishermen are trying to take part in a very limited resource. You can only split the pie up so much before there's no pie to eat.
Oh, I know.
So I really feel strongly that we have to start diversifying our businesses in such a way that you can, or changing your business model to catch and release, or going out there and having fun on the water type thing.
Yeah, your business model is definitely not catch and release.
No, not offshore.
No. You know what's crazy is for even us. I had a guy that called me the other day. He's just on. I said, "Listen, if you're going to fill a cooler, this ain't for you. So we'll catch a few fish that we can keep, and you know."
Yeah, it's not a meat trip.
Well, I told Caleb, I said, "I'm going to teach you how to be a better mackerel fisherman this spring." You know, it's growing up, man. We don't really want to do mackerel. You know, but when you charter, it's like it's not bad eating.
Yeah.
It's pretty easy to catch in the spring.
Good fried fish.
Fight good. You know,
Yeah.
A little bit of a pain to deal with. You know, when you go into the boat.
Easy to fillet.
Yeah.
You have those dehooking tools. What do you use, the loop or do you use the gun?
Baker makes one.
Dude, you got to get some Barracuda dehookers.
Really?
I worked with them to manufacture the right ones.
Yeah.
Turns the hook upside down, the mackerel will fall off.
Really?
You don't have
Wow.
to shake them. Yeah.
Interesting.
We're back. Real Animals Radio on News Radio 970 WFLA. It's Captain Dylan Hubbard here in studio this morning with my good friend Captain Jason Prieto from Steady Action Fishing Charters. Been in Tampa Bay a long time, running a couple different boats, and definitely got a lot of experience out there on the water. If you're looking for a charter, definitely check out Steady Action Fishing Charters. And you work with Mike as well, so you can get
Mike.
booked up.
Mike started a little bit before me. He's done a lot with media. But I started late 04.
Yeah.
So they call me an old timer. I don't like it. I like being the new guy, man. Gray hairs are coming, and these guys are calling me old timers, and I'm like, what's going on here? This happened really fast, but. Fishing for me is something I grew up. I used to live for. Turn it into work, which it's a different dynamic. But the guide business has been good to me. I've worked very hard at it and been lucky, and it's worked out for me thus far. I do enjoy it. You know, as you know, the business side of it takes some of the fun,
joy.
The joy. But like you said off air, you know, sometimes for you especially, I'm still on a boat every day with another one running.
Yeah.
But you're at the point where you're behind the desk a lot doing the paperwork side of stuff, and you just get a break and go out on the boat and do some fishing.
It's nice to get out there. And the last trip I was supposed to go on was we were going to do an all jigging trip this past, I think it was this last Monday, and it got canceled due to weather, and we rescheduled it for the end of the month. So I'm just keeping all my fingers and toes crossed, because that's going to be my first slow pitch jigging specific trip.
Wow.
No bait on the boat. We're just going out there slow pitch jigging.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of fun to get out there on the water and escape reality and leave the cell phone on shore. That'll be nice.
My escape for me, and it involves fishing sometimes, is I like fishing redfish tournaments. I've always been super competitive, and that's kind of kicks my competitive edge, but a good friend of mine, we fish together, and we'll go to Louisiana or Crystal River, and we move around, but fish different areas. Louisiana in particular is fun. There's just such a good red fishery there, and just to go somewhere different.
It's a beautiful place, and the food is incredible.
Yes,
Can't beat it.
So I enjoy that part of it. Tampa Bay's people are like, "Do you like fishing?" I said, "I still like fishing. I want to do anything but catch redfish and snook here because that's what you do it every day, you know."
Yeah.
So I think anything different from what my daily track is cool. But I still enjoy the business side of running a charter business.
It's like what you said. It's a lifestyle, not a job.
It is.
And if you like what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
And so, how do you get a hold of you? How would I book a charter?
You can go to my website, steadyactionfishingcharters.com, or easily accessible by phone, 813-727-9890.
Whoa. 813-727?
9890. I always say 813 even to locals because I've had that number since I was just out of high school, so I never changed it.
That's interesting.
But it is interesting. I'm covering both areas.
There you go. So definitely give Captain Jason a shout if you're looking for a Tampa Bay charter. Also, don't forget, we've got some events coming up. I want to make sure we remind you about. We've got our Sunday night live stream show every Sunday night on the Hubbard's Marina and Real Animals Facebook page. Every Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. You can tune in and get a chance to win over $800 in free fishing trips. January 19th at 6:30 p.m. at Gator Jim's Tackle, we have our Florida Guides Association annual meeting. If you're a guide or if you know a guide, make sure they show up January 19th at 6:30 p.m. at Gator Jim's. January 22nd, we've got the OceanAid 360 Ghost Trap Rodeo. Go to oceanaid360.org for more information there. And then February 15th, we've got our in-person fishing conversation at Bartow Ford with the Watts brothers, Capt. Mike Anderson and the Watts brothers, talking fresh and saltwater fishing. Definitely don't miss out on that. Silver Ring Cafe will be there supplying awesome Cuban sandwiches. You're going to be giving away Bull Bay rods for free. So definitely check out that event. Want to give a shout out to the man behind the glass, Captain Rob Roman, the myth, the man, the legend, making us sound good this morning. Thank you, Rob.
Yeah, I'm surprised you were saying all those events and then you did not mention food.
Yeah. See, I slipped it in there.
Sneak that in there,
But Mike's been gone, so we've been able to focus on fishing, and we haven't talked about Waffle House at all. It's been great. Yeah. Also, don't forget to check out the Real Animals Sunday morning show from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. tomorrow on WDAE 620. And hopefully we'll see you again next week. Hopefully you enjoyed bearing with us this morning and talking fishing. We look forward to chatting with you again next week, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. Captain Mike will be back in studio with me, so definitely look forward to that. And don't forget, if you're too busy to go fishing, you're just too darn busy, make sure you get out there on the water today or think about Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday next week and capitalize on those weather windows. Be safe out there, tight lines. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening.
Got a wife and I have to say he's got a pretty good life.
Facebook show. Appreciate y'all tuning in and hanging out with us. And Captain Jason, appreciate you coming and joining us in studio this morning. Yeah. And definitely check out Steady Action Fishing Charters on Facebook. Give them a like and do that as a thank you to Jason for joining us this morning. Hopefully we'll see you, if you're a fishing guide, at the Florida Guides Association annual meeting. That's coming up January 19th. That's this Wednesday night.
Yeah.
This Wednesday. It's coming up fast. The OceanAid 360 event's also a great one. That's this coming Saturday. If you want more info, definitely check that one out too. Wanted a little more time to plug our events. I forgot about it the first hour, but we got it in there. Hopefully we'll see you Sunday night for our live stream show, and we'll see you next week for another episode of The Real Animals. Jason, you have anything you want to add?
Go catch some fish. Be careful. Don't fish tomorrow.
Yeah, stay off the water tomorrow. Y'all be safe out there. We'll see you again next week. Thanks for watching, guys.
Coastal flooding is possible at any time.